and let us all do we can to build a better future. All right, let's talk about RFK Jr. and the Democrat meltdown. And we are going to witness something so stupid on CNN that I have to share it with all of you. Apparently, David Axelrod discusses how the fact that the DNC isn't rigging the system at all. The DNC runs clean and fair elections. At their primaries, there's no scandal whatsoever. So David Axelrod, live on television, is going to convince all of you that RFK Jr. is in the wrong, that everything that you saw in 2016 and 2020, it was just in your head. It was too much for you to comprehend. You weren't ready for it. You couldn't understand it. It was too complicated for all of you. So a huge shout out again to Case Study QB. Please be sure to follow him on Twitter. He is wrongly being censored. So give it up for him. David Axelrod discusses RFK Jr. running as an independent, says the DNC isn't rigging the system against RFK Jr., which again is absolute BS because the DNC does commit election fraud. Okay, they do. Never forget 2016 and 2020 Democratic primaries.
Tonight, rigged Democratic presidential candidate and conspiracy theorist Robert Kennedy Jr., sounding a lot like Donald Trump, right? Accusing the system of being, quote, rigged against him, saying that now he may run as an independent.
They rig the process so that I can't possibly win, which is how it's rigged right now. Then I would have to look at other options. I would have to look at running as, maybe outside of the party or something. I take more votes from President Trump than I do from President Biden.
All right. Well, he's referring to internal polling, perhaps from a pro-RFK super PAC that shows a three-way matchup between Trump, Biden, and a generic independent candidate pegs Trump 2 points ahead of Biden. Now, with RFK as the independent candidate, Trump and Biden are tied, and Kennedy picks up 2 points. Now, take it with a heaping dose of kosher salt. These are internal numbers.
Well, no, I'm not going to take it with a heaping dose of kosher sauce. This is an actual thing because the American people want something different. And there is a growing silent majority in this country. 50% of Americans identify themselves as independents. And it's a large, diverse voting bloc, not only of Greens and Libertarians, but non-affiliate. And yes, a growing number of non-voters. And it's very hard and difficult for these current crop of politicians to say to these non-voters, hey, please vote again, because a lot of people are burnt out by electoral politics, as they should. It is understandable why many people are burnt out by electoral politics. But looking at these numbers, they are downright phenomenal. This is incredible to see and witness. I haven't seen these kind of numbers in a very, very long time. And if we have to go back, you can see the numbers with Ross Perot or Ralph Nader. And we need something different. In every other democracy, there are multi-parties. But for too long, the American people have been beholden to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, Team Red and Team Blue. And nothing fundamentally changes whatsoever.
From a pro-RFK super PAC. But if the race remains as close as it is now, RFK Jr. running as a third-party candidate could have a seismic impact, right? If he runs in the primary, at the end of the process, if he loses, he can't then say, oh, I changed my mind, I'm going to run as independent. You can't do that, right? So if he makes a decision now, he could be there at the end, and that could have a huge impact. David Axelrod's with me now, the former senior advisor to President Obama. So David, when you think about this, and you, I know, have been more concerned about Cornel West, running in the race and hurting Biden than you were about RFK Jr., but now possibly he could go as an independent. Does all this set off more alarm bells for you?
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to say, yeah, he's going to panic. Now, look, Dr. Cornel West, the Libertarian Party, whoever their nominee will be, or RFK Jr., if he's going to be an independent, or I don't see him running in the Libertarian Party, but if he was, it's their right to do so. The American people deserve to have a choice. And it's the Democrats' fault that they're panicking right now because you chose an old dog. So many of you in 2020 were so triggered by Donald Trump that you wanted to defeat him at all costs. You didn't know what it would cost you. And now here you are. You have to deal with the burden of Biden and his failures, Kamala and her failures, and the entire Biden-Harris administration's failures and the people associated in it. So, hey, world's smallest violin. Yes, the DNC committed election fraud, rigged the primaries during the 2016 and 2020 Democratic primaries. Everybody remembers it. The closing down of polling stations. People no longer registered as Democrats. Lack of paper ballots, lack of proper working machines, people waiting 4 hours in line, 8 hours in line, 12 hours in line, 24 hours in line just to vote. And how can we forget in 2016 what happened to so many Bernie Sanders supporters and delegates at the DNC convention, or even what happened in the 2020 Democratic primary? It is pretty pathetic and sad. Now, again, it's only fair to point out that Bernie Sanders is a spineless, nutless wonder and a cuck through and through for the Democratic Party because he allowed the DNC to do that to his volunteer supporters and delegates. He was never going to truly fight for us. But the Democrats did this to themselves. So now you own it, liberals. Biden is your old dog, and he's not popular. And all the people that you bullied to vote for Biden are now pushing back, as they should, against your ridiculous fear tactics. I encourage all of you to push back against these liberals who say, we got to support the Democrats and Biden because Trump. Who cares? Live rent-free in their head. Embrace your anti-hero arc. Trust me on it. It'll be very liberating. So let's rewind what this big brain jagoff has to say.
The race and hurting Biden than you were about RFK Jr., but now possibly he could go as an independent. Does all this set off more alarm bells for you?
Yeah, I think anything that lowers the threshold, lowers the ceiling, helps Donald Trump. I think he has a ceiling, and so if he needs fewer votes to win, that helps him. Biden tends to do better among people who have a negative view of both of them, and probably benefits from a binary race. But just a point on Bobby Kennedy Jr. He says the system was rigged against him. He had a approval rating among Democrats of 14 positive, 57 negative. So there isn't a system you could devise that would have yielded Bobby Kennedy Jr. as the nominee of the Democratic Party. He's getting out because he wants to stay. He likes the attention. He wants to stay in the race. Even his own internal polling, he's not really a factor to win the race. He's only a factor to hang around and continue to get attention, which is what he wants. But
No, it could be also an attempt to maybe build something different. Now, look, RFK Jr. writing that letter to the Democratic Party, hoping that the Democratic Party will embrace there to be a debate or some kind of conversation. It's nice to see idealism or hope, But look, hope in one hand and crab in the other. The DNC, which one's going to fill up faster? Because the DNC is never ever going to change its ways. So it's time to start embracing something new. It's time to start embracing a new way of running this country and a new system. It's not just only about attention. It's about waking people up. Because again, even after 2024 ends, the ball is in our court. It's always been in our court. We don't have to play ball with these politicians. Maybe we should start looking at other things like citizen ballot initiatives and so much more. But you can already tell that CNN and the Democrats are still big mad at RFK Jr. Because while it might be easy for many liberals to say, oh, well, RFK Jr. will steal voters from Trump. No, he's not stealing voters from Trump. But I don't think that's going to play the way the Democrats think it's going to play out. Maybe instead, a lot more Democratic voters or independents and not voters might go to RFK Jr. instead of Biden or Trump. And maybe he's going to earn their votes. Again, it's politics 101. We'll see how it plays on election night. We'll see what happens on the campaign trail. Hell, we'll see what happens on October 9th when RFK Jr. makes his announcement in Philadelphia. We shall see. We shall most certainly see. But at the end of the day, Democrats, you could be afraid about this as much as you want, but no one cares anymore.
He is much more popular among Republicans than Democrats. There's no doubt about it. By about 30 points positive among Republicans, where there's a market for conspiracy theories and rants against the deep state.
You mentioned the Republicans, that he has some popularity among Republicans. That's certainly true. And John King actually was in New Hampshire and Iowa, both. He's done both states, talking to Republicans to try to understand what they're thinking. It was interesting what a couple of them said about RFK Jr. So let me play two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I am extremely likely to vote for Robert Kennedy, yes.
Why?
He is willing to state that we should not blindly trust corporations or our government.
He's the first Democrat I think I've ever listened to and admired what he had to say. There might have been another one that I'm overlooking. But this guy, Kennedy, he sounds like a real genuine individual to me. He's smart, and he's even-minded. He's open-minded, I should say.
I mean, it's interesting. That's exactly what you just referred to. But I thought it was interesting, David, that you were saying, even with that, perhaps that appeal being much more strong among Republicans, that him running as an independent would still help Trump because it would.
I just want to point out something here, too. Something that corporate media and people have forgotten during the 2016 primary about conservative voters, Republican voters. What people tend to forget is that there were numerous incidences that, again, have now been forgotten, in which Republican voters, Trump supporters, would gladly have supported Bernie Sanders and voted for Bernie Sanders should he have made it into the general election, or liked Bernie Sanders more than Donald Trump. This is something that's forgotten in 2016. Now, corporate media would never cover that. But again, to CNN, you're not doing your due diligence by also asking Democrat voters and independent left where they stand. Because there's this assumption. You are assuming. And when you assume, you know what happens when you assume, CNN? That's why your network is tanking. That's why you're going belly up. You're assuming that everyone's just going to fall in line and that Biden has a better chance. That might not play out the way you want it to play out.
Simply lower the threshold for victory.
Yeah, I'd also say that there's still some Democrats who will see the name, which is a magic name in the annals of Democratic politics. Robert F. Kennedy Sr. was a political inspiration of mine, and there'll be some people who will vote for him. But listen, if you're looking for a right-wing conspiracy theorist, the world champion is running already. And so I know what people are saying now. We'll see what happens in November. I think this is mischief making on Kennedy's part. And by the way, he's got some major donors on the Republican side. So what does that tell you?
All right, David, thank you very much as always.
Again, everyone, just remember, this election can go many ways. Again, 2024 is just around the corner. I don't know what lies in store for the RFK Jr. campaign, whether if he's running independent or becomes associated with maybe the Libertarians. That's a big maybe. A big maybe, most likely ending in a no. But it is important to see how CNN and the Democrats are starting to panic. And they're already trying to vilify Dr. Cornel West. He's already being made into their enemy. I do have to say that the third parties and independent candidates are going to have to up their game a lot in regards to reaching out to voters, into being relevant, and yes, making it to the debate stage, to be up there to speak against Trump and Biden, or whoever the Republican and Democrat nominee will be. Because the way things are playing out, it's a little bit iffy. But here's where we come in, us as citizens. Yes, we vote. Some do, some won't. But it's important for us to look at expanding our own power, our own influence, building citizen ballot initiatives, building movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C., so we can break the system. We don't owe anybody our allegiance for eternity. Not the political parties, not the politicians, not the institutions. We owe it to ourselves and our communities. That's it. But I like seeing the fear and panic amongst these Democrats, amongst these politicians, because it's funny to me, and we need to break the system now more than ever.